Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Pop of Color Live, a music industry late night show for colorful bands and artists. I'm your host, Clara Charron, and tonight we're going to be talking about how blockchain technology will create a revolution for songwriters and the way they get paid. First off, I would like to start with a little bit of housekeeping. As you can see, I am in a brand new apartment. And I was in it last week, but I wanted to focus on our special guest. We had Dave Poole of Bandzoogle, who was here last week. You can check out the episode in the archives, whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or on my blog. So the skyline behind me, I'm going. This is my view from the apartment. I'm going for that late night talk show thing where they do the green screen in New York City or LA or Washington D.C. or whatever. But instead, I've got the actual skyline of Ottawa. So as the night goes on, we're going to get a cool sunset because we've been having some beautiful sunsets these last couple nights. Like absolutely panoramic. I have a corner apartment, so it goes all the way around. It's so pretty. Anyway, so that quick bit of housekeeping. Second bit, you may hear some meowing during this episode because I am fostering 3 kittens. They're a month old, each one about the size of my hand. I recently posted a video of myself singing them to sleep because apparently my voice puts them to sleep like a Disney princess. But they're up right now, and if they start meowing, it's okay. Louise is staring at them and making sure they don't get into trouble. If you all tune in back next week, you might get to meet them. Right, okay, let's get started with the news this week. So, top story tonight, Instagram just launched a new feature called IGTV. So basically what it is long form videos, because before on either in their video feature or Instagram stories, you couldn't go more than 1 minute long. Now you can. This is a rumor, but they are looking into adding music into stories as well as a content ID system to pay out royalties to the owners of that music. So it's not just a matter of artists singing their own songs, but just fans, if they want to have in the background a song blasting on the radio or off their phone while they film a video, then the new content ID system would be able to pay the songwriters and the owners of that song respectively and allow music to be played in the background. This would be a great way of sharing music. Hi, Spencer. Great of you to join me. Another new feature of IGTV would be being able to point people to outside links, which Instagram is notoriously bad at doing because right now the only link they allow is that one in your bio. But this new feature, it's supposedly going to do that. I'm going to try to use this new IGTV feature on Instagram over this week and test it out and tell you guys about it in time for next week. So do tune in for that. Next up on the news this week, 2 out of 3, Coachella, this music festival, is being sued for their radius clause. For those of you who don't know what a radius clause is, hello Louise, is when an artist gets booked to play a big festival. Naturally, the festival wants to make sure that the fans of this artist go see the artist at their festival, as opposed to if they play a bar show or any other gig very close by where the same fans could potentially split up, and that means that less people go to the festival. So the idea is, for example, well, take Ottawa's RBC Blues Festival in my town. I believe, now Spencer, you're watching, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's 45 days on either side that you cannot play a show of that caliber, of that style, if you are performing at Blues Fest. Am I right? Someone told me that, but I want to just make sure. But I know this is a very common thing in a lot of festivals, a lot of high-profile gigs, because if someone goes out of their way to book you and pay you very well for a good show at a great venue, and they're going to be putting a lot of promotion to that, they don't want you to take a show at the bar down the street so that the fans split up and less people come. Indecisiveness, bad idea. So that's what radius clauses are. However, what's going on with Coachella is their radius clause is 6 months long, from December to May. May. And it says that you cannot play any music festivals in North America if you are booked to play Coachella. This means that the impact it has is both one on smaller music festivals that don't have the clout of Coachella to be able to top that and convince the artists to come to their festival. So as a result, Coachella would get the big name artists, and the smaller festivals wouldn't be able to get the same artists, even if they really wanted to, because they wouldn't be allowed to play both. So they would be with lower tier, emerging, less well-known artists who wouldn't be able to sell quite as many tickets, keeping their festival smaller. It impacts smaller artists because if you do not have the budget, playing Coachella is great, but if you don't have the biggest stage, which not every artist does, you've better hope that 6 months they pay you lasts this is a long time when it comes to your income. And because due to dwindling recorded music sales, playing live is so important. This has negative impacts. So Coachella is being sued for this because the artists are viewing this as 6 months from December to May as a radius clause being too long and too impactful, especially on North American artists. European artists, it might work for, because if they play all their shows in Europe for the whole year and then do that one Coachella gig, that's fine. It doesn't quite matter to them that one spring Coachella gig. But for North American artists, if they cannot play any other music festivals in North America during those 6 months, and even according to some documents in the article, I quote this from, in Southern California, you cannot play any gig of any type in a couple weeks leading up to that, and that's just unfair. So that is where that comes from. And last bit of news we're going to talk about this week is Spotify's playlist features can boost an artist's royalties by $163,000. Okay, so I'm a bit of a geek with numbers. There's total nerd, but there's a study I quoted in here, Fun with Math and Spotify Playlists. Do check that out. It is really cool. If you've got time to read it. I skimmed through it because I've had a crazy week, but they've pulled out calculations with how much money and royalty difference it makes to artists, this revenue on artist streaming revenue on a song if it simply gets placed in a Spotify playlist such as hot tracks or emerging or hits. It's really fascinating. They do it by country, they do it by lots of other features, but I think it's really cool. Also, if you have time to get to be nerdy with numbers, that is awesome. I did something funny to my comments. Okay, so on to before I get into the main feature, I want to just show you this tea mug really quickly. It's really cool. See, it's got music notes on it, and the handle is a treble clef. Now, the fun story about this tea mug is I won it at a seniors residence. They were having a 1950s themed party, and I tagged along with some friends who were visiting, and they were having a game where you had to guess the Elvis song. So they had the iPod on shuffle, and it played a random Elvis song, and whoever guessed the title first won. I know about 2 Elvis songs. I think Hound Dog and Love Me Tender, and I still beat the seniors at their own game simply because it's pop music, so whatever word he says the most is the hook. So this is my mug. I still feel guilty about this, but yeah. Oops. The lights tonight are courtesy of my roommate at my new place, who works in the world of live with a specialty in lighting. So I'm still trying to get the hang of them. It's going to be different as the sun sets, which I'm really excited for, but I know I'm backlit right now. And his coasters are the motto of working in live: bad planning on your part does not constitute an emergency on mine. So if you ever want to work with live people, it is best that you abide by their motto, they will love you if you do that. So plan ahead, be polite, and respect their time and respect the effort they put into making you sound good. Just because they're not the stars does not mean that you shouldn't treat them with respect and with kindness. So, slight PSA. Now let's get into the main feature. You thought I was geeky before showing you that Fun with Math with Spotify playlists? Now I'm going to talk about blockchain technology. Okay, so, do you know how songwriters get paid? How it works is through a royalty system, for those of you who don't know. So after a songwriter writes a song, they register it with their performing rights organization, or PRO. So here in Canada, it's called SOCAN. In the US, you have ASCAP, CSAC, BMI. And basically how that works is every time the song plays in a way that is eligible for a public performance royalty, which can be being played on the radio or at the gym or at a restaurant, in a store on their intercom system, or even live if by another artist being covered, the songwriter is eligible for a performing rights royalty. So what happens is at these organizations, they skim through the databases, they count every time your song gets played and send you a check in the mail quarterly. For an industry, the music industry, that is being revolutionized by technology and social media, this method can seem laborious, quaint even, but there is some form of high-tech solution that is going to change all that. Introducing blockchain. Sorry to leave you hanging, I just really like this tea. Okay, so you might not have heard of blockchain, but it is the technology that cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin are built off of. You might have heard of Bitcoin in the news over the last couple months. So blockchain is a digital ledger system whose main feature is decentralization. What that means is it keeps info permanently and can track it, but instead of all being stored in one place, everyone is able to contribute to it who wants to participate, if that makes any sense. I'm not explaining it quite well, but let me show you it in action. So in the cryptocurrency world, things such as Bitcoin, what they use it for is an anonymous currency. But an organization that I've been talking to, Blockchain Media, who I tagged in the comments of the description of this video, what they're doing is they're adapting it to get songwriters paid. So here's how it would affect songwriters. What they're doing is they're taking the form of blockchain and they're transforming it into a new kind of audio file. So you know how there are MP3 files, WAV files, FLAC files, whole shebang? A .bc file would be a digital shipping container where not only would you put the high quality audio for the song, but it would also be a place to permanently store the credits of who wrote it and everyone who was involved in it, a messaging app where all conversations are permanently recorded, and a electronic automatic payment system. So for songwriters, how this would work is as soon as the file is exported, they finish the song, they export it from the DAW, the digital audio workstation, and it's, instead of choosing MP3 or WAV file form, they could choose .bc. They would enter the songwriter's info, and that would become the shipping container. They can then add the producers, they can add session musicians, add the studio is recorded at, all that kind of stuff, so that every time this song gets played, and there's a Wi-Fi connection, so whether it syncs up to Wi-Fi after or just gets played on the spot, that information can just zoom straight to the song. Like, ping, that song was played on this radio station at this time. I'm right here in this city, on this airwave. Here's the people who get paid for that play. direct deposit straight into your bank account. No need to wait every 3 months for a check in the mail from your performing rights organization. This would mean that performing rights organizations would be freed up from having to scroll through databases and instead be able to focus on more cutting edge work in this new music industry. In fact, the first performing rights organization to show a lot of support and investment into the blockchain technology is SOCAN. So yay, Canada. Yay. And the blockchain system also records splits. So if you've ever co-written a song, you would, and you register it with your PRO, same thing. So if I decide I get 50, you get 50, we record it with the PRO. And then the PRO would have to do that, would split it 50-50 whenever they found the song got played, and they sent those checks in the mail every 3 months. Instead, what happens with the blockchain, the .bc file, is we would record, when we record the credits to songwriters, so we each get 50-50, we would write that in there, so then as soon as you get paid, song gets played, ding, 50-50 in there. And because the conversations are permanent, it can work to settle disputes. So if I agree and someone else, so if you're writing a song with me, we're co-writing, we agree on 50-50, write the song, and I'm exporting the .bc file, and I want to play you a fast one, and I write 90 for me, 10 for you, it would be clearly stated in there, and you, instead of going through email, going through messenger on Facebook, or any kind of texting to complain, what you would do is you'd write in the song, hey, I thought we had 90-10, you changed it, you can see it, and the messages are permanent, which could serve as evidence in court because it's all permanently marked. Even there's no edit, there's no go back. Unlike metadata, you can't change it. You can just update it like a timeline kind of feature. So even if you sell the song, everything is permanently embedded in that track's DNA. Before I forget, another cool thing about blockchain is you can also bequeath them. So in the event of your death or anything else, you can put it as part of your will, just like anything else. So say my last dying wish is to give my best friend my blockchain, that would work. So then they would get the royalties of that song forevermore and would decide what to do with it if it came to business licenses, sync deals, anything like that. Speaking of sync deals, using blockchain technology would also increase the number of sync licenses that could happen to independent artists, because this system will work from anyone from the biggest superstar in the world to a grunge band playing in their dormer's basement. And this will work for everyone, and the more people participate, the safer it is. The safer it is, the sturdier it is. It's going to change the world. Well, this is going to be a revolution. So I found the research, and I really wanted to talk to you guys about it because I think it's so cool. Well, so talking about sync deals, right now, what happens in the sync world is very few deals happen with smaller artists because it costs that much to pay the lawyer fees for smaller artists with smaller creators. So as a result, the only people who get sync deals are the ads, the Super Bowl ads, or the blockbuster movies. Whereas there are plenty of people who would love to use music legally in ways, whether it be YouTube creators or podcast people, or trying to think, even like independent filmmakers who would love to use songs either from independent artists or from signed artists, but who are signed to an independent record label or low tier, not a superstar. They just don't have the same amount of cash to throw around as a car commercial for the Super Bowl. So as a result, they often don't get into sync licensing. What blockchain would do, because it has the credits of who owns the song, it can also put the credits of who owns the rights to the song. So who would have the say? So if I was in charge of finding a song to put into a movie, be a small independent film, and and I heard a great song on the radio or on YouTube or on Spotify going through the playlist. I was like, I love that. Who wrote that? I want that. That would be perfect for this scene. I could go to the song, message the song itself within the file, and propose a sync license. Instead of paying lawyers' fees, if the cap is under a certain amount of money, it would create a smart license. So that would be what's being used for, whether it be educational purposes, commercial purposes, how long, what's it for, how much money I'm paying, anything else that the rights holders would typically ask with an option to ask for more information. Whoever owns the rights, whether it be the songwriter themselves, songwriter and co-writer, publisher, they would get a little ping to their phones, and it would have like, you've been offered a sync deal. Yes, no, more information. And it could happen straight there, circumventing the need for lawyers, which means that more sync deals could happen. Instead of being a game of instead of being a game of very few big players, and the occasional little one done the hard way, it would be a game of lots of some big players and thousands upon thousands of small potatoes that quickly add up. Sure, $50 here, $100 there might not seem like much, but if your song is a hot commodity and takes off with podcast episodes, quick intros on YouTube videos, that money adds up, even if it's not the same amount of money as a beer ad. So the last bit is I want to focus on with this new technology that's being developed right now. It's going to launch in a few months. I'm super excited. I tagged the company that's working on it right now because that's super exciting anyway. So I feel like I'm at the cutting edge of something. How do you prove who you are? Because one of the features with other blockchain technologies, such as cryptocurrency, is anonymity. Let's just say that the people who pay for goods and services with Bitcoin aren't the ones who buy their organic groceries or pay their monthly gym membership. Let's be real here. So anonymity is the big feature of cryptocurrencies. But of course, if you're taking this technology and building it to the world of making sure the correct people get paid their royalties, anonymity is not going to do. And because it's decentralized, that feature of not having a big giant organization or corporation who's in charge of it, it would be self-regulated and maintained by our community of songwriters. We need to find a way to play fair and make sure everyone is who they say they are. So this is introducing the identity point system. If you've ever used the Reddit forums, you might be familiar with the upvote, downvote karma system when it comes to something you say. So you say something clever or funny, ding. You say something offensive, dong. That's the idea. But what they're doing is something kind of similar, but with your reputation, because as professionals in the music industry, our reputation is our most valuable asset. So, and because everything is permanent, we don't want to fool around with that. So what this identity point system would do is every time you are correctly featured on a track that can contribute in a meaningful way, you are given an upvote. If you try to claim something is yours but it isn't, you are downvoted by the members of the community. So to illustrate in action, let's say I am an engineer and I just finished the final mix and master of the new Beyonce single. I export as a .bc file and tag songwriter because it cannot become a .bc file if you don't tag at least one songwriter. So new .bc file, songwriter, ding, up 1 point. Songwriter tags Beyonce as performer, ding, Beyonce 1 point, performer 1 point. And Beyonce's label, Columbia Records, comes in and sends a request to be added to the song as a record, as the record label. Ding for Columbia Records. Then Columbia Records goes through the liner notes and does the paperwork of adding the producer, adding the session musicians, adding everyone else. So everyone else gets uploaded once. That's the idea of it. That's good. Now take Joe. Joe is a wannabe Beyonce impersonator. He, after the song is released, he goes through the database and goes to the song and submits a request to be added as songwriter. The songwriter's like, I don't know you. Don't. Joe gets downvoted. Joe then goes and tries to add himself as performer. I'm the performer. I'm Beyonce. Beyonce's like, I don't know who you are. Done. Downvoted. And he tries to add himself as an artist to Columbia Records next. Columbia Records is like, we don't know you. You are not an artist on our roster. Downvote. And because everything is permanent, one simple click on Joe's profile shows that he has attempted, with a history, he has tried to impersonate not just Beyonce, but also Selena Gomez, Rihanna, Justin Bieber, Post Malone, and let's say Drake this week alone. And his identity point score is currently standing at -7 million. So even if he does write a song for Beyonce that doesn't get properly credited one day, he doesn't have a very strong chance of being believed because he's messed around with the system and he's essentially spamming himself out of existence by going downwards and downwards in a way that can't be redeemed unless he actually does something good that brings him up 1 point at a time. So the idea is keep it in the positive. And this would come in handy with lawsuits, legal issues, copyright issues. Choose two, being able to self-regulate and being able to see you based on reputation to be able to sort which cases are going to be more difficult versus which ones are clearly spam, which ones are clearly people going after or gold digging, trying to claim attention. So I think that's going to be a really great change too. So yes, this was my episode on blockchain technology for the use of songwriters. I'm so glad you all stuck around to listen. I know I kind of geeked out on this, but I wrote an article that matches that's in the description of this video right under references and other cool stuff. So please read that if you want to hear this in writing. I'm really happy with how that turned out. I got some excellent quotes from the Chief Strategic Officer of Blockchain Media, Benji Rogers, who's also the founder of Touch Music. So yes, please read that. I'm going to be doing the full plug for that article with promoting for it tomorrow, but tonight is the live show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be excellent to each other. Do check out my blog. I think if you like my show, you'll really like my blog. I write like I speak in the sense of being your best friend who talks about the music business with you in bright and colorful and friendly ways over a cup of tea. I also do professional bio writing. I build EPKs. I audit social media. I do brand consultations and workshops for music schools. So please hire me. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. Have a colorful week. I will see you next time. And perhaps you guys will get to meet kittens the size of my hand. But you'll have to tune in next week to see how they're doing. Bye. This went so well.